and welcome. I'm Sarah with Pasco County Libraries and you're watching Learn to Paint and Draw Better. So today we're going to be talking about thumbnailing. No, it's not hammering your finger when you're hammering on a nail. This is a technique used by artists to develop an idea. So in the first slide, you can see this artist drew 4 small thumbnails of the same scene and then selected one that he liked best to do a value study and then developed that value study into a final piece. So before he did the final piece, he explored different versions of the same scene. So it's a way to experiment with different versions of the same theme before committing in too much detail and time to creating the final composition. Composition is one of the things we can explore with thumbnails. If you look at the example of the sailboat, the artist knew what they wanted to draw. They wanted to draw a sailboat in front of the horizon with the sun behind it, but they played with different croppings of the same scene, different sizes and positions of the canvas. So started with a square one, then did a portrait version and a landscape version, angling the sailboat on different points in this composition. For the picture on the right, this artist wanted to do a still life, probably of some of the things in their dorm, some of the food items in their dorm, I'm guessing. So they played with different versions of the same picture. The first one is kind of far away. The fruit is laying far away from the rest of the objects. And the second one, the fruit is in the bowl. And the third one, they keep moving closer and closer to the objects. The fruit's in the background with the rest of the objects and the bowl is dominant. And then in the last one, the package is kind of off to the side and dominant and separate from the other items. So now the artist can look at all of these thumbnails and decide which one will make for the most powerful composition to tell their story. So thumbnails can really help you work out the composition, try the subject from different angles with more or less negative space, with different lighting conditions, and placed in different areas of the canvas, and even change your canvas size and shape. So in this example, the artist played with the perspective. So they knew that they wanted to draw this arch, this gate, and they didn't really know what else they wanted to include in the frame and how they wanted to frame it. So for this one, the artist drew it from a lot of different perspectives, wide angles, close angles, tilted at a strange angle, and with other things included to kind of work out which one best tells the story and which one would look best as a finished artwork. Which one would be the most impactful. Of course, thumbnails are also a really good way to explore different colors in your painting, different color options. If you're working with a digital medium like Procreate, it's easy to change your colors. If you're working on physical paper, you might want to do a kind of a line drawing and then copy it and then color it in with different colors. To play with different effects. You can also often take a picture of a basic color drawing that you made and then change the colors digitally on your phone, but not everybody's phone can do that. So you can also use it to develop your concept, because your first idea is rarely your best idea, and that's why we do thumbnails. So in this image, the artist clearly wanted to tell the story of a child celebrating their birthday, their 3rd birthday by the looks of it. And they tried 3 different compositions to tell the story 3 different ways. In the first one, there's a whole table between the viewer and the family. The family are all clustered together at the head of the table. You've got the leading lines of the table going towards them. This is a very classic composition. There's a lot of negative space. And they're all clustered together, but it's clear that they don't need to be clustered together. They just choose to do so because this child is special to them. In the second one, you're looking up from the perspective of behind the cake at the family's faces. It's very crowded, but it feels very warm. Everybody's there, everybody's present. It kind of elevates the child and the family and their relationship as something that's important and that fills the entire frame. And in the last version, you're kind of looking down, you see this child struggling to reach over the table to blow out the candles. All of the attention is on the child. The cake is in the picture, and it's in front of the child, but the child is clearly the object that you're meant to focus on. The child is shown as small in a very big world that's not set up for them. So in this way, the artist can develop their concept and decide if they are telling the story that they want to tell with their picture. Another example of developing your concept, this person started with a path through a creepy forest and then redrew that with different lines, different textures, kind of developed it until we wind up with something that looks like a city in the clouds. And yes, the clouds kind of resemble the original forest in a way. So maybe they wanted to create something that was dreamlike, and they started out drawing this original drawing and was like, oh, this looks more creepy than dreamlike. And then they were able to develop that concept further into something that showed the feeling that they were trying to evoke. Here is an example of using thumbnails to study the subject. What is the difference between a thumbnail and a study? Studies are usually larger. Thumbnails are very small drawings. You're not meant to do a lot of detail in them. You just kind of want to get the basic concept down. It's sort of like visual brainstorming. You want to get as many ideas on the paper as fast as possible. So in this one, the artist explored the shapes of the objects. Then they explored all the lines they could see in the objects. Then they explored all the tonal values, and then the final one is how they're going to do their final piece. This is another example. This is a study more so than thumbnails, although these are fairly small drawings, as you can see judging by the floorboards behind them. But there's a basic line drawing, developed it a little bit further, moved some of the objects around, and then did their final piece. Here's an example of Barry Coombs and his process. So he starts with the picture at the top left corner. Then he draws the entire scene kind of in a sketchy line drawing, chooses a section that he likes best, and then adds tonal values. Then he did a rough draft in color, and then he did a final version in color. So both the line drawing, the tonal study, and the original color drawing are thumbnails. They're small drawings. They're quick, small drawings. So some very important tips when creating your thumbnails. You want to make them small. You want a thumbnail to be about the size of your palm. You want to leave room between them on the page. Don't kind of crowd them together. Don't just draw a grid and draw a thumbnail in each one of the squares. So avoid too much detail. That's part of making it small. They are rough sketches. They're just there so you can see what it would look like. Your thumbnails are there to explore the big visual elements of the design, and if it doesn't look good as a very small drawing, it won't look good as a very big drawing either. No amount of detail can make up for lack of proper composition and use of your formal elements. Use them to experiment, have fun. Thumbnails are a low-risk way to explore your subject and to try out different things. So use thumbnails to study the effects on the different elements of foregrounding or focusing on different parts of the composition, by making color more important, or tone or light, making your light darker or lighter, etc., etc. And make them quick. Make them quick, make them small. So between 3 to 10 minutes per drawing. Thank you for watching. I'm Sarah with Pasco County Libraries, and you're watching Paint and Draw Better.